Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and in today's video we're going to be talking a little bit about a controversy with the new 24-hour emblem that came from the recent raid in the Deepstone Crypt. Yes, I'm talking about this emblem right here, the Long Slow Whisper. Now this emblem was only able to be acquired by completing the Deepstone Crypt within the first 24 hours, and a variety of different content creators weighed in on their opinions of whether or not it was a good experience or a bad experience, whether they thought it was too easy. And I covered this in a previous video talking about Dado and Glad's opinions, but there's other content creators that have also weighed in, and this has definitely become a hot topic within the Destiny community. But before we dive into that, first thing I want to jump into is actually the details of what has happened in previous day one raid results. So here we have a raid report, and they say here's a breakdown of how many day one Deepstone Crypt attempts were made and how that compares to previous D2 raids. So here we have Eater of Worlds, which was considerably one of the worst raids in D2 history. It was so easy, so fast, it was almost like a strike. It's still to this day considered one of the worst raids. It's so easy to beat. We actually have 4,500 clears with 172,000 attempts, a success rate of 2.6%. The second highest success rate here is actually the Deepstone Crypt with the most clears as well. Which is 5,321 with 279 attempts with a 1.9% success rate. Moving on to the third raid on the list here, we have Scourge of the Past, which I don't think this would be considered one of the worst raids, but it was definitely one of the easiest raids to beat. It was definitely not up in the S tier of raids because it was so fast, so easy to beat. It was beaten under 2 hours. We have 954 clears with 67,000 attempts at a 1.4% success rate. I mean, you can do the ratio of number of clears to attempts, and that's where you get the percentage there. Crown of Sorrow, 104 clears in the first 24 hours, 26,000 attempts. Leviathan, 761 clears, 376,000 attempts. That was when Destiny, that was the first raid of Destiny 2, when things were still big and popping and everyone was still really hyped on the game, so you can see the numbers are much higher there. And Garden of Salvation, a raid experience that I had a lot of fun with. I mean, it took me 19 hours to beat this. I was actually in one of these top 96 clears, though, out of 125,000 attempts. I mean, what a small percentage, and that's why I rock this emblem. I never take this emblem off. My Garden of Salvation emblem means a lot to me because I was so crazy. It took me 19 hours to beat this damn thing, and so I always rock that emblem. Spire of Stars, which is one that I wish I got this one beat. This is the one that inspired me to work a lot harder at these day one raids, was Spire of Stars, because I went into it thinking, you know, I could totally do it because I had beaten all the previous raids, and I didn't beat it. I got absolutely stomped out of existence. I could not beat this raid, and oh my gosh, it motivated me so much, which is the experience that I want you as a Destiny player to have as well. I know a lot of people think that, you know, saying that the day one raid was too easy because there's so many clears, because there's 5,321 clears, that's like, a lot of people think that I'm gatekeeping and Glad's opinions gatekeeping and several others' opinions are we're trying to gatekeep the community out of the raids. It's not the case at all. I did not beat Spire of Stars, and I thought to myself, damn, the next time a raid comes out, I'm going to make sure I beat that. I'm going to make sure I work extra hard to beat that. I want to be as organized as possible and get my gear up and get my weapons up, etc., etc., etc. And I'm like mostly a PvP player too. Like, I'm not even like a hardcore raider by any means. So I definitely became motivated because of that. And unfortunately, the very next raid that came out was Last Wish after that, which I also did not beat in the first 24 hours because that was like the hardest raid ever. Only 2 teams, 2 clears of everyone in the entire world out of 19,000 attempts at a 0.01% success rate. And it was that experience of failure, of back-to-back failure. I failed Spire of Stars, I failed Last Wish. I was like, damn, I need to start taking this shit more serious because I want to beat these raids. Like, it inspired me. It built a fire in me to want to complete this stuff. And that's why I was able to successfully complete the Garden of Salvation, was because of that. And I'm super proud of that, super happy for that. I mean, look, 96 clears and I'm one of them. That's fucking epic. And again, to further reiterate and to further cover this topic, because so many people keep trying to say that, you know, you're a streamer and you have a streamer's bias and so on and so forth. I totally understand where you're coming from with that, but streamers are not the ones getting World's First. This World's First in the Deepstone Crypt was not a team of streamers or big high-profile content creators. In fact, most of the well-known streamers weren't even in the top 100 within the raid. So like, this is not an issue of streamers getting more clout or getting more fame for getting World's First or getting the top 100. This is not the issue at all. The issue at hand is how challenging should the new raid be for the contest 24 hours. And in my opinion, I want it to be really, really hardcore. And I might be a psycho for wanting that, for wanting it to be so hardcore. I mean, I played Garden of Salvation for 19 hours. Not everyone's going to have that time commitment, but man, that was so sick. I mean, I can't even begin to express the feeling of how amazing it felt to beat the Garden of Salvation after 19 hours. And that was just my experience. Other people beat it in like 6 hours. A team of speedrunners, X Black, like I covered X Black, and his team beat it in like 6 hours, you know? Because they're beasts, they're speedrunners. I'm not a speedrunner, but I still like the experience of a really hardcore raid, one that's so difficult, one that just absolutely busts your balls. And for me, and for my sentiment, 5,300 clears is not a good thing. This does not seem like it's difficult. This is supposed to be the most prestigious emblem from now until like a year from now. This is supposed to be the most prestigious emblem in the game, and it just doesn't feel that exclusive and prestigious. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know that everyone has a different opinion, and I respect your opinion if it's different from mine. I totally respect that. This is not a you versus me or streamers versus the community, big battle war going on Twitter or everywhere. This is simply just a question of how difficult do you think the day one raid should be? Should it be so difficult that less than 1,000 people get in? I mean, that would be my opinion. I feel like less than 1,000 is kind of like, that was a tough ass raid if there's less than 1,000 clears. That's a good thing, because then immediately afterwards, just like with the Deepstone Crypt, now the raid's super easy. I mean, people are soloing the raid. I mean, I've covered videos of people soloing the raid now, and you can one phase all the encounters. Like, it's so easy now, so why not have those first 24 hours just be absolutely ball-busting brutal, so that way those of you that are the most hardcore in Destiny get something to show for it. It's an aesthetic, it's just an emblem. It's not like you get some crazy overpowered gun or anything. You just get a little tiny emblem that represents, you know, some crazy achievement that you made. I will definitely be reading the comments down below, and I respect everyone's opinions if you agree or disagree, like I mentioned before. We'll go over the opinions of some of the prominent content creators. We have Gigs here, in which he tweets saying, does Destiny have a higher population resulting in more day one clears? Did everyone get good? Was the raid too easy? I don't know. Still number 4 on my list of day one raids. Do I wish it was a little more difficult? I always will. I'm a psycho when it comes to hard content. I agree with that sentiment. I'm a bit of a psycho when it comes to hardcore content on the first day. Like, just the first day. Okay, I'm not saying that Destiny, you know, needs to all be like insane solo grand master level difficulty, but just the first day of the raid should be really challenging, especially now considering how easy it is. We'll move on to another content creator. We've got Slayer here, who got world's 3rd in this Deepstone Crypt raid. Very talented player. Why so many Deepstone Crypt day one clears? Release on the weekend, yes. 10 days to level, contest modifier rather, and few wipe mechanics. OP builds, big marketing equals big turnout. And then the negative he's saying is that more accessible emblem negatively impacts the day one experience. So he doesn't agree that that negatively impacts the day one experience. And I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think that this many clears is a negative thing anyway? I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a negative impact on the community, because this just simply means that a ton of people played, they got a dope emblem, and they had a fun experience for the first start of the raid. And I think that's a good thing overall. But if there's something about me where I want that like aspiring, difficult content to be in the game just for even a short period of time. And for some reason, when I see there's 5,000 plus clears of the new raid and it's supposedly the most difficult 24-hour period, it just doesn't seem like it was that difficult, in my opinion. And moving on to the last opinion here, we have Sweatsicle from Redeem. If you're really getting this upset over an emblem, you need to find something better to do. Laugh mask off. So he's definitely roasting people that are getting way upset over this emblem thing. And so lastly, I'll bring the question back to you again, but I want to phrase it in a way because I definitely want to see your answers in the comment section below. How many clears and attempts do you think there should be? What success ratio do you think you would like to see when it comes to what is supposed to be the most difficult 24 hours of a brand new, fresh, never before seen raid encounter? What is the success rate you think would be good? You know, we've got, most of them are below 2% here. Do you agree with more of this area of the raid section of the previous raids, or do you agree more with this area? Me personally, I'm kind of in the middle. This is where I feel like it should be around these numbers. Like, I feel like Scourge's numbers are pretty solid. I feel like that's about what Bungie should shoot for, in my opinion. But maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you feel like there should be way more successful clears, because the more people that successfully clear it, the more people that are stoked about getting the emblem, the more people that are happy and want to play more Beyond Light. And I agree with that sentiment to a certain extent, but I just don't want it to be so easy that there's like 100,000 clears and 100,000 attempts, where just anyone that tries the new raid is able to beat it, because it's just a complete joke. Because that would be very frustrating, and that's where it feels like the raid is now after contest modifier. It's kind of just a joke. Like, it's really easy. Like, there's no one that's really failing the raid that much, and if you are, it's probably just because you haven't invested enough time into it, or maybe you're relatively new to the the game, because it is kind of easy right now at this point in time. And if that's not your experience in Destiny, I totally respect that. I know there's some people that are probably like, hey man, like I've been trying to beat this raid and I still can't get it beat, and I respect that, and I know that's not everyone's experience, but that is the general experience of the majority of the population, I think, is that most people can beat the raid at this point in time without contest modifier. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. This is the long, slow Whisper Emblem controversy coverage. Make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you want to stay up to date on all the news that's going on within Destiny 2 and the Destiny community. I'll see you later.